Go ahead and accept that. Take a deep breath. Thank you all for joining me this evening. One of my favorite topics to talk about, the energy and aura of an empath. So welcome everyone. We'll give everybody another minute or two to join us. We had a lot to sign up, so we'll give everybody another second. Take a drink of water. If you want to come on screen, that would be great. I love to see faces. Hey, Alicia, how are you? Marjorie, good to see you. You made it. Shantanu, I don't know you. Andrea, I'm not sure you either. And Leanne, welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah. So take a deep breath. Got my bowls on. Got a little fire going. Transformation energy. So just rub your hands together, generate a little energy, activating right and left hemispheres of the brain, inhaling and exhaling. So welcome everybody. I am Terry Ann Hyman. A couple of you know me, a couple of you don't. So always great to see and have new people join me. So my story, a couple of you have heard me talk about it, began way back in New York City, living, working. I was a new mom. I was married. I had jewelry contracts with Eileen Fisher stores in and out of the city, really, really busy running around. I knew something was going on within my marriage, but just too busy to pay attention until that one morning when he walks into the kitchen and he's like, I'm in love with her. And I finally slowed down to say, like, Tara, who are you? What is going on? You know, the thing is that I really love this man. I really loved him. And I gave and gave and gave and gave. And that was a big lesson. But that message for me of who am I and what's going on was so powerful that it did send me on a search to find out that question. Who had I been listening to? Why wasn't I paying attention? And I did come to find out that I had been married to a narcissist man and I was an empath. I didn't really know what that meant. But one of the things that I did do was, when nothing was working, traditional therapy, couples, children's, my own, I found a spiritual mentor. I went to somebody who did some hands-on, we did some breathing, and I remember that day. I left, got back in my car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't felt this good in so long. And then that's when I heard, you're going to be okay. It was so loud, I had to turn around and see, like, who is that, you know? It was like that same message of who you listening to. And right then and there, I decided whatever that was, I'm going to follow that energy. I'm going to start doing this work. And I promised myself that my kids were going to thrive, not just survive, and I wasn't going to get sick. Divorces are intense. They really are. Everything came crashing down. And like I said, I really loved that man so much. I didn't realize how much of my power I had been giving to him. So I did find out that you can learn Reiki, and a couple of you have taken Reiki with me. And when you start to learn Reiki, you start to understand more about your energy field and your energy system. And that became really important. But what I soon began to notice was that even though I was running my energy in the morning, and then I'd go to work, I was working in a jewelry factory. So it was kind of big, Made in the USA factory, great job in New York. But by 10 o'clock, I was like going, what is wrong with me? There were so many departments, and I was the assistant to this amazing designer. And so I was running all around, and there were a lot of people there that were like trying to get green cards. So there's a lot of that kind of, anticipation and doing things right and all that kind of energy. And I kept picking it up. I didn't realize it then. But that started me on another search to understand, like, Reiki teaches us to be channels of energy, right? When we're working with Reiki, we're channeling that energy. But I'm still picking up energy. I'm still picking it up from other people. I started noticing how I would go out at lunch to my car. And it's like, why am I so frustrated? Why do I not understand? And run my energy, go back to work. And I'd notice a big shift. Now that's great. Reiki is amazing. And if you haven't learned Reiki, I highly do recommend it as a great way to learn about your energy. But it went beyond that. And so I started learning more and more about my intuition. Right? Started training and thought I was like this person that could feel energy, which I could. I could feel pain. And I thought like that was my main intuitive gift. But what I found out was I was processing energy of other people as if it was mine. And that was a big lesson for me. And so I started learning, like, well, what does that mean? And how can I get help? And how can I understand this better? And so I continued to study, the forever student, right? Maybe you feel that way too. But I needed to understand better why I was picking this up. And also, too, I needed to understand more about this energy of a narcissist and an empath. They really don't go together too well. Maybe you're in a situation like that. You can put in the chat if you'd like, raise your hand or something, but maybe you can understand what I'm talking about. Because as empaths, in caring and sensitive people, we give and we give and we give, and we open up our energy field, which is very key to what we're talking about tonight. And narcissist people, they just keep taking. They bring you into their web. And then when you're not in that web anymore, all of a sudden they push you out, which is kind of what happened in my marriage. All of a sudden, I wasn't paying attention. I was too busy trying to get my jewelry contracts out. I was too busy with my children. That was a big one, especially time for my children. And all of a sudden, I wasn't that important to him. And I started learning and reading, but I still needed more help and more training. Started working with pranic healing, pranic energy as well, learning about the aura, the energy fields. We do this kind of thing in pranic healing because we feel into the auras. So then from there, I was able to develop a system. I'm not really sure if anybody else teaches this, the aura of an empath, but I started recognizing there was something to the idea of our aura and how we can work with our aura field, as well as working with this channel of Reiki to help protect our energy more and more. So that is my background and how I came into understanding this and the system that I have developed that we're going to learn a little bit with tonight. So as we go to begin, let's just take a moment, let that settle in. Maybe you can relate to some of what I'm talking about. Maybe you've had some instances like I have where you are in a relationship like that, or you're taking on, or even you're feeling drained at work without really recognizing why. But let's begin to shift our energy, because really the work is through that practice of understanding more and more about our own energy field. All right, so let's take a moment. If you can, close your eyes. Take a nice deep inhale, breathing up the body. And as you exhale, bringing that breath all the way down, slowing down, centering. Inhale, expanding the breath up the body. And as you exhale, just call all your energy into you. Call it in from the day. This is important. Inhale, expanding the breath up the body. And as you exhale, feel yourself breathing all the way down, connecting with Mother Earth, centering. Gonna light a little sage, calling in the element of fire, helping for this transformation of energy, of brain pattern. Noticing the element of smoke, air coming in, clearing the mind, clearing the space. We call in the element of water, washing through us, moving through those emotions. As empaths, we have big emotional body. Calling in the element of earth, grounding, centering, slowing down. And as you take that next inhale, breathe up the body, opening up your radiant light body. And as you exhale, begin to align the spiritual body right on top of the emotional, mental, physical bodies, all centering. Inhale, expanding the breath up the body. And as you exhale, right here in your heart, dropping into the heart, feel that connection, your spirit and the greater spirit. Know that you are loved, guided, protected. Feeling all this energy coming in around us as we open up to do this work. Feeling this energy, knowing you're loved, guided, and protected, opening up and just taking a moment, noticing your energy right now. How do you feel? Are you stressed from the day? Are you carrying more than your share of energy, of emotions, of tension, of stress? Where do you feel it in the body? Noticing for you. Taking another deep breath, breathing up the body, and exhale all the way back down. We begin to open up the light body. Inhaling, And a long, slow, deep exhale all the way down. And now let's expand through the aura from the heart, opening up, expanding the energy field all around you, front, side, back, side. And as you exhale, breathe, call in all that energy back into the heart. Let's do that again. Inhale, expanding that breath all around you, opening up your energy field. And now exhale, call it all the way in, right back into the heart. Taking a pause here, feeling any shifts, noticing if you can begin to allow yourself to calm down, noticing what you notice. One more deep inhale and exhale. Feeling yourself grounding, bringing that breath all the way back down, deep into the earth. Feel perhaps the heart opening a little more. And as you're ready, blinking the eyes back open, coming back. So just take a moment and notice, did that help? Were you able to let go a little bit of the day? Did you know what I mean when I said call your energy into you? Energy follows intention. These are very important aspects that we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about and share this idea of empaths. There we go. So an empath, as defined, is a person highly attuned to the feelings and emotions of those around them. Empaths feel what another person is feeling at a very deep level. Now, here's the challenging part, because we want to feel. We want to know how people are doing in the world, right? A lot going on. But the challenging part is taking it on as if it is your own. So that's what I was kind of talking about. I'm feeling good all of a sudden. I have all the stress that wasn't really mine. I'm taking it as if it's mine. Now, super sensitive people are very sensitive to empaths, yet they have a boundary that keeps them from taking it on. They can still feel the emotions, but they're not taking it on. So which are you? All right? Maybe you want to drop that in the chat. Do you know you're an empath, or are you just super sensitive? And empaths can switch to being super sensitive when they learn the energy boundaries, which is what we're talking about when we start to look at the aura of an empath. Now, both empaths and super sensitives have more hypo-responsive mirror neurons. This is very important to understand. Dr. Judy Orloff, she's really big. We also have, many of us, what we call mirror touch, synesthesia. Say that 3 times, right? These are when 2 different senses are paired in the brain. So sometimes you can feel and sense, or you can see color and sense, or you can smell and sense, or you can even visualize and hear. So emotional energy and empaths have this ability to bring these sensations together. We have more mirror neurons. We're born that way. We are different. And so we're matching people. We're matching how they feel. And so when we start to recognize this, that's why noticing what you're noticing, you hear me say that all the time, is very important. Because what we want to start to do is create those energy boundaries, but first and foremost, start to recognize how open is our energy field? How much are we taking on? What's the difference between my energy and your energy? A very important question. So here we are. Here we're beings in the world. We have a light body. Now, this isn't something you're going to learn in school, not necessarily unless you're in the mystery schools like I teach, but this is something we all have. I call it the radiant light body. Maybe you've heard it as the Kundalini body. Maybe you've heard it as the Sushumna channel. I like to call it the radiant light body because as we start to breathe up and down and in and out, we start to activate this channel of energy. The aura, the chakras, all of this feeds into our light body. And yes, we can learn to work with it. So when we go out into the world, we have these auric fields all around us. And it's through these auric fields, our aura, that we start to mingle. We also start to bring in energy and we start to put our own energy out into the world. Now, there's a lot of research done that we only see less than 1% of what's going on. So what's going on with that other 99%? Just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Now we trust it. We trust it with our phones. We trust all that energy coming in. But what about our bodies? This is what the aura is all about. So when we go out into the world, here's an example, A and B. So A is showing a vibrant, healthy aura. This is what we want. And you can feel it. You can feel people when they show up and they're healthy and they're alive. Now, what is B showing? This is showing when we take in too much energy. And you see those little black marks? This is when we consistently take in the same kind. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So what's going on in the world right now? Fear, stress, lack. And if we continually buy into it, we start absorbing it, we are going to absorb more and more and more every single day if we're not aware of our energy. Can you relate to that? Do you feel this happening to you? So when we're out in the world and we start to have conversations, this is what happens. This person may look this way and you may look this way, but then we start to mingle our energies and look at this. Here we have 3 examples of auras. So the first example, A, we're showing you're coming into contact with somebody and your energy field is open. And generally this is what happens when you're not aware. And then look what happens with B. You start to bring those energy fields together. Can you feel that? Do you notice that? Now C shows us how, let me separate out my energy from your energy. Most of us don't do C. Most of us wind up doing A, ending up with B, and then taking B with us when we leave. Which is it for you? So what we want to do is begin to recognize our own energy field. So one of the ways we can do that is through our breath and through recognizing we all have an aura. So let's try this. Coming back into your center and right around very close to you. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to just kind of go inside yourself. And I want you to start to pay attention to your heartbeat. I want you to pay attention to your energy. How do you feel? Can you feel a pulsation? What are you hearing besides me? Your own thoughts, memories of thoughts, work thoughts. What can you smell? What can you sense? Very close. Now, the thing with empaths is they're not taught to have their energy in. When we are empaths, we generally start when we're very young. Something happens in the family. You've got some bullying going on perhaps, or maybe there's some addictions in the family. Maybe your brother, whatever. And so what happens is you become alert and your energy field starts to open as a kid. We're already sponges when we're little, but it starts to open. And then like, for instance, the minute you hear that car coming in the driveway, maybe it's your dad, right? You're on alert. And so your energy field gets used to being open. What no one tells you is that we need to work with bringing it in. Because as you bring it in, perhaps you just examined that, like you can start to sense what it is. But for the most part, take a breath, open up your energy field. Open it up all around your room. What do you hear in your room now? Maybe you hear a TV in another room. Maybe you smell dinner cooking. Maybe you hear birds outside. What do you sense? What do you feel? Now go a little further. See if you can go outside. Open the aura all the way. Many of us keep our aura opened all the way. You're on alert. You're waiting for the next shoe to drop or how are they going to walk in the house? Especially with a narcissist. Let me tell you, that 5 o'clock hour is not fun. So you're going to be mad I didn't get dinner ready. What is he going to say, right? We walk on edge and our energy's opened. But what we want to learn is how to use our energy field. So now call your energy back into you. Call it in, call it in, call it in. Come back close. Now when it's close, again, go within. What is your energy? Did you take on energy from somebody at work today? Spouse, perhaps, child, perhaps. Children are really easy. Spouses are really easy too. Coworkers too. Maybe you're in Zoom all day and you're taking in all the energy from the computer because you're sitting there looking, right? So when we begin to recognize the aura of an empath, what we want to do is recognize, well, how open is my energy? And now, do I ever remember to bring it back close? So what do you notice? Anybody want to make some comments? Put some information in the chat. Anybody notice a difference when you call your energy in? Again, energy follows intention versus opening it up. Does this make sense? Yes or no? Being opened all the way was very uncomfortable. Okay. So where do you think, Andrea, where do you think your energy is? Are you very closed? Are you opened without recognizing it and noticing, oh, maybe that's why I'm feeling uncomfortable a lot of the time? We do want our energy open like when we're dreaming and we're moving into astral travel and that kind of thing, but we don't want to go around all the time. Closed is more peaceful. Closed, you have more awareness of what's your energy and what's everybody else's energy. So like when you walk into a room, most people just walk in, right? But if you take that moment of presence, when you walk into a room and notice what's going on, you begin to ask yourself a question of like, well, how do I process energy? Is this mine or is this somebody else's? And that's a very important aspect too, because if we don't recognize our energy and we just walk in, we start to pull it in. And there are many, many tricks for empaths. Like, I know I can't sit in the middle of an aisle at the movie. I can't even be in the middle of a yoga class. I have to be on the edge. And I know this about myself because I can't be that surrounded. What is it for you? Knowing you were born that way makes you not so real, right? No, we aren't taught about our energy fields at all, right? And yes, many people say, like sometimes you hear people say, oh, you have to be gifted. And then people say, oh, there's no such thing. But the truth is, with empaths, and this is proven, Dr. Judy Orloff, I've been in her classes, she shows us in our brain, we have more neural pathways, more neuroreceptives, matching picture neuroreceptives. So we are matching. I'm matching your feeling. And then with empaths, like I said, we're taking it in as if it's ours. And then all of a sudden, we're doubting ourselves. Like for instance, all right, like I have this one client, she was in HR, right? So every day, people would come into her office, tell her all of her problems, and by 10 o'clock, she was drained. And then she thought like, oh, I can't get my work done. I'm feeling so behind. What's wrong with me? But because she was taking in everybody else's energy and always helping everybody else, she wasn't able to function at her high capacity. Now, we want to help and we want to be good neighbors, or in her case, she wants to be good at her job, but having those energy boundaries can help her to be strong, to still have compassion. We need compassion in the world right now, right? Yeah. So that's why it's so important. I am an empath who's learning to put up boundaries, right? I hear you with that narcissist energy, but having boundaries is so important. I talk about this with my daughter all the time, right? She's in corporate America, people pleasing. We do a lot of people pleasing. We want to get ahead. We want to be good. We want to show up. But underneath it is some energy there with people pleasing. We still need boundaries because if we don't, again, we get drained. We have that workload that piles up. And then we start to resent everything we've been doing and we're not getting the results in between. So there's so many ways that this shows up. So learning how to work with our energy field. And I know for most empaths, this is through experience and my own experience as well, we're not very good at setting boundaries. Do you have that too? Where you set about, you're not really good at it. All right, one of the things I've learned through the 4 agreements is like being impeccable with my word. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But yet sometimes with boundaries, they're hard, right? So what we want to do is work with our energy field. And especially as sensitive people, we have a special talent for doing this because we do feel. I used to say like, oh gosh, I'm so sensitive. This is a curse. I feel too much. I feel too much. Yet it's not really. It is our biggest gift. In the spiritual world, this is where we learn. This is where we grow from those emotions. But we have to learn how to process them. And we do that through breath. We do that through breathing. We start to open up. Can you feel that when we open up? Also, when we open up, we get out of the third dimension. We start to reach into the fifth dimension, higher up, which, so much more freeing. But the one thing that people don't talk about a lot is the aura. So again, come back into the center. Take a breath. Just open it in your room. And notice the energy in front of you. Notice where your aura is to the side of you, to the back of you, and to the other side of you. We can have that awareness. And part of what I help you to do is learn what are the boundaries you need. You need to go in very close. A lot of psychic protection. If you're around a lot of what we call energy vampires, right? People that want to just suck your energy away, you're going to need more protection. If you're with a narcissist, this is one of the first boundaries I worked with, was you're going to need a reflective boundary. I remember Catherine, my very first teacher, she used to tell me, and I have to gesture. I have this gift of, commanding energy. So she's like, when he leaves, drops off the kids, when he leaves, push it out, because his tendency was to project onto me all of his stuff. And so I'm thinking, it's me. They can twist it and they can turn it around, right? Andrew, you probably agree with that. We all probably can agree. We've all probably been in situations like that. So I had to start, before I even learned about boundaries, that was one of the first ones I learned is like, okay, push it out. Push all that energy out, push it away. And that's what we do. All right. Now, it may look funny, but hey, if it works, right? And the more we do it, the quicker it happens, the quicker it becomes. But what I help you learn, and we're all different, so we all have different ways of working with this, but which boundary do you need the most? Are you so far out that you can't even feel it? And that was one of the things I had to learn in my pranic healing classes. I was so far out, I couldn't feel people's aura. And it wasn't until I recognized that, and this is many classes later, my teacher would say, just do it, and I didn't get it. But I just kept doing it until finally something clicked. And what clicked was me pulling my energy in so that then I could start to feel it because it was just too wide. Now, one of the things I also noticed, and this happened during COVID, I woke up from my sleep with so much fear. I didn't realize, even though I know I was empathic, even though I know I was sensitive, I didn't realize I was channeling from humanity, from the world, because what was going on during COVID? Fear. So every morning I wake up and I had so much fear. I thought, what's wrong with me? Tapping, breathing, working with my energy to get rid of that fear. And then I was talking to one of my peers, and I'm saying, like, God, every morning I've been waking up. And she's like, you know what? Let's create some protocols for you. Good idea. Why didn't I think of that, right? So I started to create protocols before I go to sleep. Now, I like to have my energy open because I do channel a lot of my Lumerian guides at night, and I want to bring those messages in, but I do want to protect my field. So that's a different kind of boundary that we can establish. I started to notice it happening again this year. That's November, really, but this year, right? Because what is going on again right now? All that bullying in the world, right? All that not having compassion. So we need empaths, 100%, but we need to have strong boundaries because being drained and taking in too much energy isn't going to help anybody, right? Yeah. So we can learn to work with our subtle body, and that's what it is, our subtle body. And as we recognize, like, oh yeah, I mean, think about it for a moment for you. Think about when this first started. Can you go back there? Probably in childhood. Or maybe for me, like mine did start in childhood. I was the one in my family, sensitive one, processing energy. I also had some abuse through a brother. And that started having my energy field open. I'm also very sensitive, very intuitive, right? So I knew about this, but I didn't realize how wide open my energy fields were. What about for you? Is there someone in your family? Mother, father, mother sometimes too could be this way, where the mother is that narcissistic character. Maybe it is a partner. And I will say a narcissistic partner and an empathic person are one of the hardest, very hard. So learning tools and skills is going to help you because one of the tendencies is to try to make them see your way or make them see your point, right? And try to turn that energy back on them. It never works. So finding the tools and the techniques to ground and block and hold that vibration for you is very, very important. So I had this client, I love this story, maybe you've heard me talk about it. She worked here in Birmingham at Southern Living. So Southern Living is a magazine, Progressive Farmer. She worked in the kitchen, Cooking Light magazines, maybe you know of it. And she loved her job. It was the best job, but she came to be just ready to quit, right? She came here and she wanted to just give up. But she loved her job. She's like, I have this boss every Monday morning, she comes in, she dumps all this shit, she turns it around, she makes me feel like I'm not any good. And then she walks out of my office and I just want to leave. And so we started working with this. And one of the tools we work with is talking about working with amethyst and how amethyst can become a psychic protector. And so she started putting amethyst around her, because one of the things happens is when you bring this energy field close and you bring in this idea of crystal of amethyst, you would wear a ring or a necklace, or you can even call in the crystal beings. I also teach that, crystal beings of amethyst. Then what happened was her boss wasn't getting the satisfaction because nothing was getting in. She was still sitting there with all the energy. So she started going to somebody else. So my client was like, thank goodness, phew. And this woman started going to somebody else, her boss. And then eventually the boss kept getting a lot of bad negative reports. And eventually she got fired. So my client got to keep her job. And what happened, she learned, was that as she protected her energy, the other person wasn't getting the same satisfaction, right? Does that happen to you? That's kind of like what happened with the HR person I was talking about, because everybody was dumping on her and she kind of thought it was her job. Now, she also had a vested interest because she wanted to be liked. So there are layers to being empathic and taking in people's energy. There are layers to that, right? So yes, we have some comments here about yes in childhood, mother, ex-husband, father. So there's something within you that is attracting that combination. And many times as empaths, we want to help. We want to fix, right? Do you feel that? I want to fix him. I want to make him better. And I remember when I first actually did meet my husband. He was a lush, and I thought that was a good thing. I don't know why, but we go out and drink and drink and drink, and I don't know. I did love him, and I'll be honest that I've done a lot of healing with it, and there is some soul, deep soul, past life soul energy. Happens. But through this work and through protecting him, I saw him 2 years ago, my kids got married. Woo, I'm glad I'm not there anymore. I'm glad I've learned about myself. So sometimes we have things in our life that help us to learn our lessons and to be better. Yeah. So one of the ways that we do begin to work with this is we establish the breath, just like we did, up and down. And then we want to start opening and closing the aura. So that's the first step, because what you're going to start to feel is the difference between wide open and calling it in. So when you called it in and when it was wide open, which one of those could you tell more about your own self? Was it the wide open? Or was it the pulled in? Fixer, yep, right. Definitely closed in, pulled in, right? Yeah. Did anybody ever tell you that? No, nobody ever tells us that. Just because we can't see our aura doesn't mean it's not there. And you can train to see your aura. I can see auras. I remember the first time I saw my aura, I was in a hot yoga class. In hot yoga classes, they have the mirrors. So I'm standing in there and I'm doing a pose. And all of a sudden, I could see my aura. And I was fascinated. It's like, oh my God, what is this? My aura. So you can train to see your aura. Now, that doesn't mean you have to see the aura in order to do this work. You don't. But it can happen that you will. So when we learn energy techniques, like I was talking about with Reiki, we began to open up that channel. We call it that horizontal vertical, that Raku energy. So we start to open it up this way and this way. And that's the same energy we want to work with our empath energy. We want to take it a step further. And again, breathe and open. And then we start to create the boundaries that we need. So the amethyst is one. Perhaps you've even heard of the bubble. Now, many people will say, oh, just put a bubble around you. I do use it, and I talk about it a lot at the holidays, especially holidays. Get your own little party bubble when you go to your family, right? That's a great way. But I think sometimes if we keep ourselves in a bubble, we can feel isolated. And I don't think that's a good thing either, especially right now. We want to have the skills to recognize when people are hurt and people are suffering. We just don't want to take it in as if it's ours. Make sense? I was working with another client, and her partner was very abusive, very narcissistic. I mean, the stuff he would do. And she kind of like fled in the middle of the night, and she found me. We started working and working and working, and we started using the tools. And many times she was like, I can't go back. I can't go back. I don't know how I'm going to back. But the more she used her tools and the more that she worked with it, she liked the lifestyle. Let's be honest. Sometimes we do. We like the lifestyle that our partner brings us. She didn't want to leave. But because she was able to use the tools, bring her energy field in, even tapping, I do a lot of emotional freedom technique, she was able to sustain the partner. She was able to sustain the partnership and be in that relationship. She even got married recently. So it is possible to be able to be in that kind of relationship as long as you're aware. And again, noticing what you're noticing. Is he what's it called? Transferring. Transferring is the word in psychology. Is he transferring energy, his energy onto me? Is he twisting up the story so that I think it's me? That takes another boundary. That's, again, reflecting it back out. Questions? Is this helpful? Definitely pulled in. How do we train to see auras? So that's a good question. There are many ways to train to see auras. So if you take your hands, rub them together, generate a little heat. All right, and you want to have them a little in front of you. Your eyes are going to go soft. And then start to put your fingers together. And what you're going to start to see is a little white line. That's the first step. And then what you'll do is you'll start to bring them forward and back until you start to see. That's the first step. You start to see that little energy around it. All right. Another way is to go sit, right? Amazing. Very good. Is to go sit outside with a tree and breathe with a tree, especially now as they're starting to turn green. So you'll start to see, as you start to breathe with the tree, you'll start to see that halo, and that's another way. If you take yoga classes, lots of times when you're breathing and the teacher's up against a wall, you could start to see the aura of the teacher, right? Because we're getting out. Beta state is what we're running around with, right? Once we start to get out of the beta state and we start to relax, we can open up. We can expand our consciousness, which is a lot of what this is about. We want to expand it, again, just because we can't see it. So question, what are some things to say in those difficult situations as tool? Meaning, how do you verbally start the fields? So really, the best thing is to first and foremost pull your energy in. When you start to feel somebody else's energy, you want to say, is this my energy or their energy? And just pull it in. Energy follows intention. Problem is, we got to remember to do it. That's why taking practice and having someone help you is really important, because you want to remember to pull it in, especially when you go out into the crowds these days. All right. And for me, it's at sleep. It's at night. I have to have an established protocol so that I don't wake up with too much excess energy. How do I know that I am? Because when I wake up and everything's okay with me, but all of a sudden I've got all the weight of the world, and it's easy to go down that path right now. All the fear and the lack and all that. It's like, ooh, wait a minute. I was down recently this past weekend. I had a girls' weekend with my cousins. And it was fun. And my sister was there. And she's got a lot of stuff going on, right? And we're sharing a room together. And I was like, oh, gosh, I got to go clear my energy. Because I was pulling in her stuff. I want to listen. I want to be compassionate. And with family, because we carry genetic coding, similar genetic coding, it's very easy, right? Mothers and children, same thing. So we have to learn to say that. I was just on a call before this with one of my coaches in my groups, and they were talking about distinguishing, okay, that's my mother's energy, not mine. That's her pattern, not mine. And so sometimes we have to talk to ourselves to do that. We talk to ourselves all the time anyway. We listen to it too, right? So what are you feeding? What choice are you making? All right. So if you know you're in a toxic meeting, you know everybody in there, and you know you're the sensitive one and you tend to take it on, this is a cue right away. Okay, I need to pull my energy in. Whether it's on a Zoom, right? Or whether it's out in your work, right? So if y'all are all on screen, we could do this exercise where we can open our fields of energy. We start to feel everybody else, and then we contract and pull it back. Most of us do that without even recognizing it. So those are some of the ways to do it, right? And the other way is to learn how to work with this. Learn what you need. What boundaries do you need? When do you take the energy in the most? Whose energy are you taking in the most? So we start with the breath. We start opening our fields of energy. We start noticing. Now, empaths take it in the solar plexus, the navel center. And we want to start to ask yourself. So just take a moment and focus on your navel center. Okay, what emotions am I feeling? Close your eyes. Go into that sensory. There is a lot of stress in the world right now. There is a lot of fear. Is this my fear or the world's fear? And right now, this very moment, what is it for you? Where are you pulling in excess energy? That's what we want to ask. That's why noticing what you notice is so important. So let's try the exercise one more time. Closing the eyes. Take a nice deep inhale, breathing up the body. Exhale, breathing all the way back down. Opening from the heart and through the aura and the chakra. Inhale, breathing front, side, back, side. And exhale, pull it all the way back in. And again, opening up through the aura. Open it up. Go as far as you can. How far can you go without even trying? Outside? Can you go downtown to your city? Can you go back to work? If you don't work at home. And now call it in, call it in, call it in just to your room. Notice the difference between wide open and calling it into your room. I know for me, I can hear the lights buzzing, see colors. I can hear the refrigerator unit. And now call it all the way into you close, very close. Now I can start to hear my heartbeat. I can start to feel my energy. I can smell my essential oils. Open it back up. All the way, all the way, all the way. Pull it back in. Return to the vertical breath up the body. And exhale all the way back down. Noticing how you feel as you do that. So this is where we begin to understand more and more about our own auric field, right? So hopefully this was helpful. Let's have a few review questions here just to make sure. Let me see here. Where are we? Okay, here we go. All right, empaths have what? Hyper-responsive mirror neurons. It is important to do what with your aura? Pull your aura in. It is essential to have an awareness of what? Your energy field, right? That's what we're talking about. We all have the ability to work with this. Notice what you notice is part of the formula. I don't want to get into a too pitchy thing. I do a lot of work. I have mentoring programs, but I do offer, if you want to learn more, schedule a spiritual upgrade call with me. Let's talk about your energy field. I do have a program, a private mentoring, 6 weeks. We go in, we create boundaries for you. It's all on my website. I'll share the links in the replay. Or you could just do one-off sessions and come in and talk to me. They're called soul sessions, so we have a time to talk about it. We have time to go over it. We have time to practice. Practice is key. The more you do the work, the better it becomes. The easier you remember that you have the tools. It's just like what we teach with Reiki and Reiki 2. Like I have symbols, I have tools, I can do this. The more we practice, the easier it becomes. And I also teach you how to cut cords, how to release energy out beyond sending it back and protecting your energy. Because then once we do that, guess what? We can train our intuition. We start to build our intuitive skills, the clairs, the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, claircognizance, the clairessence. We start to train that because when we have too much energy coming in, we can't tell. Is this my guidance or somebody else's guidance? Where did I get that from? It's too wide open. So when we start to build our skills, then we also begin to train our intuitive abilities. And that lets you be more confident in how you show up in the world. Definitely. Questions? Can I offer anybody any other questions? Thank you very much. You're welcome. I will put the links in there. Please schedule a call with me. I do love to talk about this. I do want to help. My mission is to help more and more people get out into the world. I do want to make one last comment. I've been listening to a podcast called The Telepathy Tapes. Fascinating. You can find it on all your podcast platforms. And it's about children who are born on the autism scale who can't communicate, but what they're finding out is that they are able to have telepathy. And they're reading their family, they're reading their parents' minds, and they're also able to communicate with other kids. So this work that I teach falls into that. So if you know of parents that have children like this and need help and have done everything they can, please send them my way. I'm very passionate about teaching and helping people understand more and more about how we can work with this energy. Yes, you can wear amethyst for sure. During the expand your energy out as far as you can part of the exercise, it seemed like I couldn't get past the walls of my house. Most of you expanded out of the open doors. Just because of protections, very well could be protections. So sometimes if we protect our energy, we also close down our energy. That's like the bubble. I do use a bubble, but I don't teach that first because become isolated. And like you're saying, you're so protected that you can't get out there. Again, we need compassion and empathy for others. How to break for my kids. I can teach you how to do that for sure. I've got a daughter out in the West Coast. She went off to Hawaii out of college all by herself. So I definitely have experience with that. I can definitely help you with that. Even mine close, I feel my son. Because we do have genetic coding. We have DNA that matches pictures, right? But we have to learn, and we can do it, and there are many tips. Are you Reiki trained, Leanne? You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Will there be a replay? My sister will really benefit. Yes, I will send out a replay. And again, please reach out. I have scheduling. I have appointments open. I am looking for new clients as always. And again, I am very passionate about getting this work out into the world. All right. So as we go to close, let's take a moment. I do like to close the energy because I don't want everybody running around with everybody else's energy today. Also very important to close. Coming back into the heart. Take a nice deep inhale, breathing up the body. And as you exhale, just bring all your energy into you. Call in mind, separating all of our energies out. Inhaling, breathing up the body. And exhale, breathing all the way down. Taking a moment right here and call your energy into you. We honor each of us, yet we define our own energy as being separate and complete. One more deep inhale. And exhale all the way down. Now we want to ground. Feel yourself connecting to the floor, to Mother Earth. And then taking one more breath, and as you do, imagining just absolute light, fresh energy, streams of grace, moving all the way through, feeling up nice, fresh energy, allowing Reiki to come in as well, feeling that you are within your own energy field as you call your energy in. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I do hope that was helpful for you. And again, if you'd like to study and learn a little more, I am available. Thank you so much. And check me out. I'm also on the Empowered Spirit Show podcast. I talk about this all the time. In fact, this week I do have a really great podcast coming up about the spring energy of March. We have so much going on. I offer reading as well. I have a new show coming on TV streaming. It's going to be called Soul Messages. There'll be more information about that. And if you're in the local area, we have a spring equinox next Thursday and a sound bath at the Yoga Circle next Saturday for the new season. So please check it out. Please follow me. Give me a like. Give me a review. And thank you for showing up. Inhaling. And exhaling all the way down to your spirit. Namaste. Thank you so much.